Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman was the first Democratic senator to visit Mar-a-Lago, and he says he's committed to working alongside Republicans, but can he find a middle ground?
Well, Democratic Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman may be the new brand that Democrats desperately need. Here he is on The View after he was accused of, quote, cozying up to Trump.
There are those on the left who feel like you have made a rightward shift recently, going to Mar-a-Lago, joining Truth Social, your positions on issues like immigration, fracking.
Welcome back to All-Star Buzz. Thank you for joining us. And let's begin.
Sunny Hostin has never been one to hold back when it comes to throwing shade, but this time, she picked the wrong target. What started as yet another one of The View's predictable anti-Trump rants took an unexpected turn when Sunny found herself going head-to-head with Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman. And this time, she wasn't in control of the conversation. Instead of the usual chorus of liberal agreement, Fetterman calmly and methodically dismantled her accusations, leaving her flustered, defensive, and, by the end of it, storming off the set in complete embarrassment. It all kicked off when Sunny accused Fetterman of being a traitor for daring to be fair in his assessment of Donald Trump. She was clearly expecting him to backpedal, soften his stance, or maybe even issue some kind of empty apology, like so many politicians do when they get cornered on The View. But instead, Fetterman did the exact opposite. He stood his ground. Not only did he refuse to be bullied into submission, but he also schooled Sunny on politics in a way that had the audience gasping, and even some of the other co-hosts looking uncomfortable. Fetterman, who has made headlines for his surprising middle ground stance on certain issues, wasn't about to let Sunny twist his words or misrepresent his views. With his signature no-nonsense approach, he calmly pointed out that real leadership isn't about blind loyalty to one party or ideology. It's about making decisions based on facts, not emotions. He reminded her that whether people like Trump or not,
I mean, honestly, I haven't been surprised by anything now. I mean, he's been doing essentially what he actually campaigned on that. He announced he is going to pardon the J6 individuals. He is going to absolutely go after the border. So there's a lot of things that he's already ran on. I mean, criticized a lot of it, and I don't agree with everything either, but it's undeniable he actually ran on that and been really upfront. He's like, I am your reputation, and he's, kind of making those moves. So that's kind of where we're at. Early on, immediately after the election, I was like, hey, we have a choice. We can freak out and follow every other thing around, like a cat, with a laser, after everyone. But I'm not that guy. I'm not going to be that Democrat. For me, there's things I'm going to agree with, I'm going to disagree with, but I'm in the business of finding wins for Pennsylvania and for the nation, and engaging the president. I think I see that as doing my job.
Well said. And I wanted to ask you, so you went down to Mar-a-Lago and met with the president, and he actually was singing your praises after. He said you were fascinating, impressive, a common sense person. I agree with him on that.
Not. The reality is that he remains a major political figure, and pretending otherwise is just delusional. He went on to call out the hypocrisy of so-called political analysts who demonize anyone who doesn't fall in line with their one-sided rhetoric. Sunny, visibly rattled, tried to interrupt, but Fetterman wasn't having it. He doubled down, saying that the reason people are losing trust in mainstream media and political discourse is because of exactly this kind of divisive, emotionally driven nonsense. He made it clear that he wasn't there to play partisan games. He was there to talk about reality, something The View seemingly has no interest in. At this point, the atmosphere in the studio had completely shifted. The usual smugness on Sunny's face had disappeared. The audience, which The View typically relies on for their loud, one-sided cheering, was silent. Even Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar, who usually rush to their co-host's defense, seemed hesitant to jump in. It was obvious to everyone watching that Sunny had overplayed her hand, and for the first time in a long time, she wasn't the one controlling the narrative. Desperate to regain some sense of authority, Sunny tried one last time to shift the conversation, throwing out accusations about Fetterman normalizing Trump. But by then, the damage was done. Fetterman looked at her and simply said, "You don't have to like someone to be fair about reality. That's called being an adult." And with that, the entire room erupted. Gasps, murmurs, and even a few claps could be heard as Sunny's face turned red. She opened her mouth as if she had something to say, but instead of fighting back, she did something no one expected. She stood up, grabbed her cue cards, and rushed off the set. The awkward silence that followed was unbearable. The cameras cut to commercial almost immediately, but the damage was already done. Within minutes, clips of the exchange were circulating all over social media, with people calling it one of The View's most humiliating moments ever. Viewers were stunned that Sunny, who has built her entire brand on being outspoken, had been completely shut down and left speechless by someone she clearly underestimated. Meanwhile, Fetterman walked away looking like the only adult in the room. Unlike most politicians who tiptoe around The View's aggressive questioning, he handled it like a pro, refusing to
A liberal or a conservative. I'm curious what your takeaway was from meeting with him, and what, if you found that there's any specific policy areas you think you can work with him on.
Yeah, well, I think overall it was a positive experience. I mean, he was kind, he was cordial. It wasn't in any kind of theater. It wasn't trying to get your picture taken to kind of put something out on social media. It was just really a conversation. I actually spoke for over an hour. And overall, my wife was there, and she might be watching right now at home. Hi, Giselle, if you're home. And she was there as well, too, and we just had a conversation. And one of the things, can we agree on? Well, one of the things that was easy, like the Dreamers, the Dreamers, immigration, that. And Giselle was part of that community, and we both had the opportunity to express that. I would also, I'm on the Ag Committee, and I think protecting SNAP as well, too. Food insecurity is really important issue. And some people on that side wants to go after that or weaponize that. So for me, those are kind of issues, other things that we can agree on as well. But
to be bullied into saying something he didn't believe. And the public took notice. Social media was flooded with praise for him, with even some of his critics admitting they respected his ability to stand firm. As for Sunny, let's just say it's going to take a long time for her to live this one down. For someone who prides herself on being the smartest person in the room, she sure didn't look it when she fled the set, unable to handle the heat. If she thought she could paint Fetterman into a corner and make an example out of him, she got a harsh reality check. Instead of making him look bad, she ended up exposing herself, and the entire charade that is The View's political discourse, for exactly what it is. A one-sided echo chamber that falls apart the second someone dares to challenge it with actual logic. The aftermath of this explosive moment didn't just impact Sunny Hostin, it sent shockwaves through The View's entire ecosystem. Behind closed doors, producers were in full-blown crisis mode, scrambling to figure out how they could salvage the situation without drawing even more attention to it. They had hoped that Sunny storming off the set would be a small moment that could be glossed over, but instead, it became the defining clip of the entire episode. Damage control meetings were held almost immediately after filming wrapped, with insiders reporting that Sunny herself was livid at how things had played out. She allegedly ranted that Fetterman had been disrespectful and condescending for daring to challenge her, but the reality was clear. She had walked right into the confrontation and then folded under the pressure. Meanwhile, viewers weren't buying any of the excuses. Social media was flooded with commentary about how The View had finally been exposed for what it truly is, a one-sided echo chamber where dissenting opinions are not only unwelcome, but actively silenced. People pointed out that Sunny had no issue calling Fetterman a traitor on live television, but the second he responded with a well-reasoned rebuttal, she suddenly couldn't handle the heat. The hypocrisy was glaring. If the roles had been reversed, If a conservative guest had walked off in the middle of a debate, The View and its supporters would have mocked them mercilessly. But because it was Sunny who cracked under the pressure, her fans scrambled to make excuses. The irony of it all was that Fetterman wasn't even being particularly aggressive. He wasn't shouting, interrupting, or making personal attacks. He was simply laying out the facts and holding his ground. And yet, because The View is so used to having guests who either agree with them or allow themselves to be steamrolled, Sunny clearly didn't know how to handle someone who wouldn't just sit there and take it. This wasn't just a moment of embarrassment for her. It was a damning indictment of the entire show's credibility. If its hosts aren't capable of engaging in a real debate without falling apart, what does that say about the quality of their commentary? But here's where things get even more interesting. This moment might have actually caused serious behind-the-scenes tension among the co-hosts themselves. While Whoopi Goldberg tried her best to keep things moving and play the role of the neutral moderator, it was obvious that even she was caught off guard by Sunny's reaction. Insiders claim that Whoopi and Joy Behar were later overheard discussing how bad the moment looked for the show. One insider even suggested that Joy Behar was frustrated with Sunny for making them all look weak. Apparently, there's an unspoken rule among the co-hosts. If a debate gets heated, you hold your own. You don't storm off and leave your colleagues scrambling. Sunny's dramatic exit wasn't just embarrassing for her. It made the entire panel look unprofessional. And as if that wasn't bad enough, network executives weren't happy either. According to industry insiders, ABC has been growing increasingly frustrated with The View's habit of spiraling into controversy. While drama can sometimes boost ratings, this wasn't the kind of spectacle they wanted. There's a big difference between a lively discussion and a co-host walking off mid-argument because she couldn't handle a differing opinion. Sources say executives are now questioning Sunny's future on the show, with whispers about potential shakeups in the panel already circulating. And then there's the audience reaction. Let's be real. This moment did not help The View's already declining reputation. For years, critics have accused the show of being nothing more than a glorified echo chamber. And this incident only reinforced that idea. More and more people are starting to see The View not as a serious political talk show, but as a daytime soap opera, where hosts spend more time pushing personal vendettas than actually engaging in meaningful discussion. Fetterman's appearance was a rare moment of real political discourse, and instead of stepping up, Sunny melted down in real time. And the best part? Fetterman wasn't even remotely bothered. In fact, sources say he found the entire situation hilarious. He reportedly told aides that he never intended to embarrass Sunny. He was simply responding to her accusations directly, and wasn't about to let her control the conversation. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.